are heavy with frustration. It makes me wonder if I'm the one you've waited for. Baby, can still rise up and be a nation again. Scotland will be part of Euro 2020.
Hello and welcome to the first of our episodes focusing on Scotland at the Euros. It's time for Talk Livi Talk Scotland. As Andy is a miserable git when it comes to the national team, it's just Bruni and Angus that are joining me for this episode. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, not doing too bad. Obviously kitted out the retro top for this one, as she's commented before we started. Looking forward to the Euros and looking forward to talking about them.
That top screams Don Hutchison against Germany in a friendly, that top, I'm pretty sure.
Probably before me and Callum were even born, to be fair.
Yeah, I think that was about 99 or something like that when he scored the winner in Germany.
I would have been alive then.
Bruni, how you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm just twiddling the thumbs and now, just counting down the hours till Monday. Obviously my first tournament as a Scotland fan, so no, really excited for it and excited to talk about it today.
Yeah, I don't like to brag, but I'm one of the lucky gits that's going to all 3 games. You might have seen it on Twitter. I might have mentioned it at the odd time. I might have mentioned it when we had a night out, Bruni. But I don't care. It's my reward for going to places like Albania in the last few years, risking my life to go and watch Scotland. So you can listen to this episode and all our other episodes on your preferred podcast streaming site. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, plus loads more. So just search Talk Livi, follow us and subscribe if you can, so you won't miss another episode.
On this episode, we'll discuss the squad selected for the Euros and if the warm-up games have given Steve Clarke any food for thought.
We'll then create our Scotland 11 of players that have played for each of our lifetimes.
I chatted with Ex Livi and Scotland striker Lee Miller about his experiences representing Scotland and his move into football management since leaving Livi.
Then finally, we'll give our predictions for the tournament. How far can Scotland boogie their way through the Euros?
The 12th of November 2020, after 120 minutes and 9 successful penalties, a nation held their breath as David Marshall dived to his left. 22 years of hurt finally came to an end and our men's national team were finally heading to a major tournament. Sir Steve Clarke has named his 26-man squad to take on Europe's best. What's your thoughts on the squad, lads?
I think the overall squad, it's not too big a surprise. There was maybe a handful of players that I would have preferred maybe to see involved, but I would say they're probably more squad players overall. Like so Liam Kelly maybe being in for John McLaughlin based on his kind of form, second half of the season at Motherwell, thought he was excellent. Jason Kerr as well, I would have liked to have seen in, again, no Livingston biased, I would have liked to have seen Nicky Devlin in as well. But, and I think the only other one I maybe said was John Fleck. I think he's very lucky to get into the squad, and I would have maybe gambled on someone like Lee Griffiths, just in case you are chasing a goal. But to be honest, I'm not overly surprised. I think the inclusions of the likes of Gilmore and Turnbull have come about as a result of the likes of Ryan Jack and Kenny McLean being out of the tournament. I think they would have been in ahead of them had that been the case. But overall, to be honest, I've not got many complaints for the squad. I think probably the only one, as I say, Fleck and Nathan Patterson for me, I just don't think he's played enough games to really merit a call up for a major tournament. But some folk would probably argue that. But yeah, overall, I'm quite happy with the squad and just looking forward to the tournament. It's been a long time coming.
Yeah, I'm quite happy with the squad, particularly with the inclusions of those 3. Well, they were previously uncapped players. Patterson, I think I do disagree. Nicky's had a brilliant season and stuff, but Nathan Patterson, he's playing at a better team at a higher level. I think he's going to go on to have a top career. We saw it, and I mean, he only played 45 minutes, and it was Luxembourg, wasn't it? So you can't really judge him too much off of that. But I think you've got Rangers fans raving about him, and they're a hard bunch to please. So he's come on leaps and bounds this season. Gilmour as well. I'm sure we'll get into it, but for me, he's got a right chance of starting on Monday. Although Cal McGregor, he's a very good player as well. But and David Turnbull, of course, as well. Again, another terrific young player who'll certainly be, maybe a number 10 for Scotland in the years to come. But yeah, the only thing I would have really added or agreed with you, Ewan, was the exclusion of Lee Griffiths. Obviously, we've got Dykes, Adams, and Nisbet. Do we need another striker if we're only playing one up front, or are we going to play two? But I think just Griffiths off the bench or something. If we're needing a goal, there'd be no better guy to come to maybe a free kick on the edge of the box. We know he's done that before. But yeah, other than that, I'm fairly happy with the squad, and obviously we'll speak about it just now. The friendlies, I was very, very impressed with us against the Netherlands, and again against Luxembourg. Of course, you could look at it negatively. Maybe against Luxembourg, it's only 1-0, and we did miss a lot of chances. But I think I'd be a lot more concerned if we didn't create those chances. We had the ball in the net a few times as well, which were disallowed, and we were excellent throughout that. Billy Gilmour, wee cameo again, he oozes class for me. Maybe I'm just getting too hyped up on him, but I absolutely love Billy Gilmour, and obviously
I think that's the thing we need to watch as Scotland fans, is this hype. This isn't a disrespect to Billy Gilmour, but I think he's played 30 minutes of international football. And some of the comments I was seeing online, it's like we've unearthed like the next Ronaldinho or something like that. I think we need to be careful on the overhyping of him. At the end of the day, he is still a young lad. He's still very inexperienced. That's my only thing. I'm sure he'll be a talent in years to come for Scotland, but that's the thing I was getting a bit concerned about, is this overhype, because I've seen it before with Scotland players breaking into the national setup and having cameo appearances as such. And I remember Ollie Burke making his debut, and he'd had big money moves at the time, and look what's happened to him. So just as an example.
I think that's definitely the case following the Luxembourg game. Everybody was, waxing lyrical about Billy Gilmour. And, he is an exceptional talent, nonetheless. We were also playing a 10-man Luxembourg who were just trying to kick us. I mean, in all honesty, yes, he was showing great promise and all of that, but at the same time, it's like, we have to reel that back a wee bit. We're playing a team who's, do Luxembourg have any actual professional players? Yeah, we should be doing that. Whoever was on the pitch should be doing that against them. But again, that's not to discredit the guy. He can only play against what's in front of him, and yeah, as long as he shows what he can do in these games against like Holland and that as well, that's perfectly fine. Just to go touch back onto the squad, I think that's one of the kind of interesting things about it with the young players that we've taken, even if it is mainly just for the kind of future prospects of giving them that experience before they go to the next one. My only gripe with the squad, in all honesty, is Greg Taylor. I feel like if you take Nathan Patterson because of that reason, why do you not take Josh Doig instead of him? I feel like that's something that maybe could have been better, because in all honesty, Taylor played an awful lot for, the worst Celtic team in, 15 years or something. Doesn't really do an awful lot for me. But again, you're talking about the third choice left back, so it's nothing that's too devastating there. But yeah, just go straight back to the games that we're playing there. What did you guys think about the game against Holland? Obviously, that's a big team, one of the teams who will be probably one of the favourites going into the tournament. Were you guys impressed with how we handled a game against, a team with world-class players?
I think the friendly against Holland was picked for the reason of it'll be the most similar kind of prep we could get to play in England and Croatia, who, let's be honest, will probably dominate the ball against us. So I think it was a good test. I think didn't help with the COVID issues. I think taking the right precautions and leaving players behind in Spain for the game. And I think you might have seen the team that Clark would have been edging towards for those games. But I think that's where, we touched about it, the food for thought. I think, Forrest came in and played. Some folk would have questioned his inclusion, but I think we needed another natural wide player with Fraser. I think if we were to change our setup at all. And I think Forest offered us a natural threat down the right-hand side during the game. Because I think the Luxembourg game, we were predominantly going down the left-hand side because you've got the obvious Robertson-Tierney combination, but I think that offered us something else going down the opposite side of the park. I think we pressed the ball really well at times. And the thing I keep saying under Clark is you can tell we're a well-coached team now. There's a clear pattern on how we play. When we lose the ball, our shape is excellent when we lose the ball. The only main gripe I have about the game was the referee, because I think he has posters of Memphis Depay on his wall. The free kick was laughable, albeit well executed. But I think we more than went toe to toe with Holland up until we got the second, and I think we started ringing the changes, and I think we were right under pressure and kind of hanging on. But 70 minutes going toe for toe with, as you say, a top class side. It gives you that little bit of the promise as a Scotland fan that we can go and do something against England and Croatia, which is dangerous, having followed Scotland for so many years. That expectations all of a sudden settling in. But overall, really good performance, and again, as I say, it's given Clark a lot of food for thought for the games coming up.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing though that well, speaking for myself, I'm very hyped up. I'm not overconfident or anything like that, but I genuinely have this belief that we can go on and we can qualify from this group for the first time ever. And that Holland game's obviously accentuated that. The fact that we had your McGinn's missing, Che Adams, players like that who'd be starters. McTominay wasn't involved at all, albeit he was on the bench. So with those guys missing, and we've still managed to be a minute away from beating the Dutch. Wouldn't say it's our B team or whatever. Do you know what I mean? You're missing 3 or 4 key players though. But they took off Wijnaldum and De Jong after about half an hour, which I did. If I was a Dutch fan, I'd find very, very strange. But anyway, we've gone toe to toe with them, and we can definitely hold our heads high. And it sets us up very well, as you said, Ewan, for that game against England, for the game against Croatia as well. And then against Luxembourg, obviously it was. I still think it was a great performance. And on another day, it's 5 or 6 now. It's just unlucky, I think. And I prefer to be positive, as I was saying, that you could go, oh, we'll fluff it when it comes to the big game or all this, but hopefully we'll be working on a wee bit of shooting and training. But no, on another day, Dykes has a hat trick. So I've seen some people saying he had a poor game, and maybe that's Livi. That's my Livi hat on or whatever. He's a former Livingston player or whatever. But his hold up play was magnificent. Obviously he sets up Adams for the goal, and he gets the man sent off. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. The 10 men probably don't think Steve Clarke would have liked that. I thought he'd maybe preferred to have played against an 11, just because for trying different things out, and it almost kills the game when they go down to 10 men. But I still think we were superb. Again, Angus, as you were saying, you could put it down to the, are we overhyping Gilmore and all this because he's playing Luxembourg? I do think maybe a wee bit, but for me, I'm going to defend him because he's done it in the English Premier League. He's absolutely bullied Fabinho against Liverpool. He's not looked out of place in a Chelsea team with Kante, Jorginho, Kovacic. For me, I prefer to be positive about him. I get your point, Ewan, in terms of he's not played that many games, whatever, but he's played at a top level for about a season now. Not played too many times, but whenever he has, he's never looked out of place. But against Luxembourg, I just think I prefer to be positive, and rather than looking at it, we only played against 10 men. Yeah, we should have hammered them, blah blah blah. But we were solid. We never, we used to play these games, and we used to be under the cosh at times. I never once felt that we're going to concede here. We always looked solid, and I think that's testament to how far we've come under Steve Clarke. And as I say, on another day, it's 5 or 6.
So obviously we've talked about Billy Gilmore in that midfield as maybe being somebody who could cause some headache for selection. Probably the main other kind of position that will cause some food for thought is at centre back. Obviously, the Luxembourg game, I believe it was Hanley and Gallagher. In the Holland game, it was Hendry and Cooper. Obviously, Kirin Tierney is going to be playing on that left-hand side. But for you guys, who do you think is getting the nod so far at centre back? Just go to you, Ewan, for that.
Again, that was going to be next up, was the centre half debate. I think, as you say, Tierney's a shoe in it, left centre back. I think Hanley will be one of them. I think Steve Clark's kind of mentioned it before. I think he had to pull out of a couple of squads when Clark first came in, and he was eager to get Hanley involved. And you saw the last international break, thought Hanley was excellent. He has a lot of doubters when it comes to Scotland, but I think when he was capped originally under Gordon Strachan, it was all kind of Strachan liked to play the ball out from the back, and I don't think that's Hanley's game essentially. But he played the right of the back three. You know, the games in March, he played the centre of the back three. Cooper played there against Holland, and I thought was excellent. Thought he had a very good game against Holland. Hendry played right centre back and was again very good. Got a goal as well to add to that. And then we've obviously got Declan Gallagher, who's, let's be honest, he's not put a foot wrong playing for Scotland. So I think it is a genuine toss-up. I would say Hanley is going to be one of them, and I think it will be the right centre-back slot that's really up for grabs. But it'll be interesting to see who he goes with. But I think Hanley's going to be one of them. Not sure about the other.
Yeah, for me, it's Hanley and Hendry. Obviously, Hendry scored against the Netherlands, a great finish. But you know, defensively, he looks fairly solid. He's got a bit of pace about him that you could maybe argue. You know, I'm not saying the guys are slow, but you could, you know, he's quicker than Cooper. He's quicker than Hanley. He's quicker than Gallagher. Especially for that right hand side. He's a ball playing centre back as well if we need that. And an interesting one is, you know, McTominay's not being mentioned in this. I don't think we will. I think we do need him in the midfield. I've been persuaded on that because I used to really like the idea of him at right centre back, but you know, now maybe with Ryan Jack not involved and Kenny McLean not an option there, I think he has to play in centre mid. We saw that in Europa League final. He was excellent for Man United. But yeah, for me, it's Hanley and Hendry. As you say, Ewan Cooper was brilliant against the Netherlands. I felt he had a bit of a point to prove because he's not Leeds United captain for no reason under Bielsa. Do you know what I mean? So I always felt that he should have been doing a little bit better in a Scotland shirt. But you know, he's done his chance. He's no harm. I think Gallagher, Becky's probably unfortunately fourth choice out of them, which, you know, he's again, as you say, he's not put a foot wrong, has he? But just a tough one. Obviously, he did that job against Mitrovic though, but I think it's a good problem to have. I've named the two I'd have, but you know, any combination of those four, I'd for the two slots, I'd have no qualms about. Other than the fact, you know, I don't think Cooper could play on the right. You know, just due to the fact he's left-footed. But other than that, him in the centre with Hendry or Hanley on the right or whatever, you know, I'm happy. And I think it's a great problem to have.
Yeah, for sure. For Gallagher in particular, this past season with Motherwell is probably what's done him the worst. Obviously, the uncertainty about his future. I think he had a couple of injuries as well. Means he's not played an awful lot. If he had another season like he did in his first one with Motherwell, then you know he probably would play himself into the team. But yeah, I'd be inclined to agree with Callum. Hanley and Hendry does seem to be the kind of preferred option. Hanley does seem to be the preferred centre back, even just through, you know, like the squad number announcement. In all honesty, but yeah, I'm really excited to kind of see Jack Hendry continue to impress. Obviously, ball playing player. Obviously, we're talking about on that right hand side, we kind of need a wee bit more because, you know, like Stephen O'Donnell isn't, you know, the most technically gifted player. So even if it is just like Hendry, like firing the ball up to, you know, like the Dykes or, you know, further forward to like McGinner, that I think that's something that'll probably be better suited. And yeah, Hendry's ability on the ball probably sets him out more so than, you know, the rest of the players there. But you know, regardless of who's playing there, we'll get behind them, and you know, hopefully they're going to fire us onto, you know, a couple of clean sheets and getting some points on the board.
What I need is a certain song. I can't believe
There have been many great players to wear the famous dark blue during our time on this planet. We're going to give you our Scotland Lifetime 11. Bruni, who has made the cut for you?
Well, from my lifetime, so I've sort of picked it from the first game onwards. My first game, obviously, a Euro 2008 qualifier. I think it was 2006. Scotland 6, Faroe Islands 0 at Celtic Park, and then a month later, my first game at Hampden was Scotland 1, France 0. So wasn't the worst start for me. All downhill from there, but I've gone for a 4-2-3-1 formation with Craig Gordon in goals, a back four of Alan Hutton, Gary Caldwell, Stephen McManus and Andy Robertson. The two in front of them are Darren Fletcher and John McGinn. The three in behind the striker, Robert Snodgrass, Sean Maloney and James McFadden, with Kenny Miller up front.
I think from certainly, if you're talking from my first game, so my first game was, I think it was 2003. It was a qualifier for Euro, well, it might have been 2002. It was a qualifier against Iceland. In terms of strikers that we've had in that time frame, I think it's difficult to exclude Kenny Miller, isn't it? 69 caps, I think it's 13 goals he scored, and there's some iconic goals in there. I remember a header against Italy, the goal down at Wembley as well, which is one of the goals I've celebrated the most going to watch Scotland. And I think he was a shoe-in. There's another couple. I'll ask you about Stephen McManus. Is it Stephen McManus? Is it purely because of one of the most embarrassingly over-celebrated goals against Liechtenstein? Is that the reason he's made it in?
That is a little bit of a reason. Obviously, a last-minute winner that you won't forget. He also scored. I think he scored 2 goals for Scotland. The other one was against Lithuania, which was at the time an important goal. Obviously, we went on to win that 3-1, but he got the second after. It was at the wee Hearts guy, Mikalunas, man, wee cheat that dived in the box for the penalty. I've gone for a left footer beside Gary Caldwell. Caldwell obviously in there for the goal against France, but it's tough. I mean, I've not grown up with many great centre halves. I could have put Tierney in there. To be honest, I love Kieran Tierney. He was tossed between Andy Robertson for the left back spot. I could have put him easily left centre back in this team, but I was thinking about it tactically. I don't think I think he's better in a 3 than a 2.
See, I was all out attack with my team, absolutely all out attack. So I've got a slight advantage, I feel, on a lifetime 11 because
you
I was
can say that again, aye.
I mean, Andy has an even bigger advantage than me. He can include like Kenny Dalglish in his team. He's in his 50s, man. Right, but I do have Euro 92, Euro 96, and France 98 in my lifetime. So my team consisted of Jim Leighton, who went to 4 World Cups with Scotland, 2 Euros. He's our second most capped player ever. 91 caps for Scotland. He retired at the age of 40 from international football. Christian Daly makes it, in my opinion, a Scottish footballing icon, in the fact that the fans still sing about him, even though he wasn't the most talented player. He made it. Richard Gough was another one, Ex Livi manager, wee Livi connection in there. 2 World Cups, Euro 92 captain. Kieran Tierney was in my back 3. I think Tierney is going to become in my opinion, a Scotland legend down the line. He's, I think, one of the closest players I've seen to world class for Scotland. My midfield 5 was Snoddy. Again, little Livy connection. I had John Collins, Gary McAllister, Darren Fletcher, and then I had Sean Maloney. Sean Maloney being for the goal against Ireland, probably the best goal I've seen at a Scotland game. And then up top, I had Ali McCoist and James McFadden. Was my team. So that was my 3-5-2.
Don't mind it at all. Very good.
It's my team, in all honesty, it's not too far off of Callum's. Maybe that's our ages kind of showing kind of similarity there. My first game, I think it was a friendly against Denmark in like 2002 or something like that. Don't really remember much of it, to be honest, but basically my players are all from there. But I'm not going to lie, there's probably quite a fair bit of, recency and Livi bias in this. So in goals, David Marshall. I mean, we have been blessed with, so many good goalkeepers. It's probably the one position in my lifetime that Scotland have always had somebody who is very good. Could have easily went with McGregor, could easily went with Gordon, but, David Marshall's brought the greatest moment in international football. And there's a player later on who has something that's kind of similar. Fullback, Alan Hutton right back, Andy Robertson left back, Kieran Tierney and Declan Gallagher centre backs. I know it's a back four, but I've just went for it anyway. They're the players who I enjoy watching most. You're absolutely spot on about Kieran Tierney. And he's absolutely world class, and he's going to be an absolute superstar whenever he leaves Arsenal and leaves that sinking ship, hopefully as well. Midfield three: Darren Fletcher, Sean Maloney, John McGinn, exact same as Callum's. Just quality in that midfield, plenty of energy, and then we have James McFadden, Robert Snodgrass, and then I couldn't leave him out, Lyndon Dykes. I've never really properly been so invested in a player for Scotland ever. Every time he's playing, I'm there banging the drum for him. Yeah, he's my favourite player right now, so I've got to go for him.
So can I just clarify, did both of you leave out Darren Fletcher from your lifetime 11?
No, I've got Darren.
You had Fletcher. I can't believe you've left out Darren Fletcher, Angus. That's unbelievable.
Right.
I mean, he's the third most capped player in Scottish football history.
I didn't leave Darren Fletcher out.
Did you? I'm fucking lost. There's too many names.
5 times, that's cool.
But both of you included Alan Hutton. Now, in terms of from when I started watching Scotland, again, I would have had Alan Hutton in because I think he, despite the fact he rarely played at club level after he left Rangers, he was immense, I thought, for Scotland. He was a constant 7 out of 8 out of 10 for us. And I think we've struggled to replace him ever since he retired, to be honest.
I think for Alan Hutton, he makes the team alone for that time. He was dribbling with the ball, kicked the ground, and then just fell on that player who was trying to slide tackle him. I think that alone gives him that legendary status that gets him into our teams.
That was Gibraltar. I've actually got a funny story about that game. So that was when they'd started doing like season tickets for the home games, and we had a guy in front of us, and he'd put a tenner on Alan Hutton to score a hat trick against Gibraltar. So every time Alan Hutton picked up the ball, he's going, "Drive, Alan, drive," like that, right? And then I think we got 2 penalties in the game, and he's going, "Alan, come on, Alan, get up there, put yourself forward for it." And then it was when he picked that instant you're talking about, he picked the ball up, and again he's shouting, "Drive, Alan, drive," and then nuts the boy in the chest, falls over, and then it was just absolute hilarity around us because this boy had been shouting it for probably about the best part of 70 minutes anytime Hutton picked up the ball. It was fantastic. Sadly, Alan Hutton did not score a hat-trick that day, which was an incredible disappointment for everyone involved.
Yeah, certainly a safe bet for Alan Hutton. 50 caps and no Scotland goals. So, but no, see, just for me, it was just growing up. Obviously he was very good at Rangers. He was in that UEFA Cup final team. He had a good career down at Tottenham as well. But it was just, I'm not exaggerating. Somehow he was one of my favourite players. Just whenever I went, he used to always get me off my seat. Overlapping down the right. He used to just go on marauding runs and overlap the right winger and put in a decent delivery most times. That's a memory I have of Scotland. And it would usually be on the side. I'd sit behind a corner flag usually, and he'd get up the right hand side down the other end. And obviously, it's difficult to see the other goal at Hampden from behind the corner flag at the other end. So, it was just always the uncertainty of Alan Hutton's going forward, and like I'm off my seat, and you hear the noise of all the other seats going up and things, and I just really liked Alan Hutton as a player. It would be great to have a 25, 26-year-old Alan Hutton in this squad, because that's arguably our weak link, with O'Donnell. As much as I think he's a bit of a scapegoat, O'Donnell. I'm a fan of his. Patterson as well, you've got coming through. But if Alan Hutton was in this team, I think we'd have a brilliant back five, and him getting forward with that threat. Obviously, no Alan Hutton now; he's about 40 now. But in his prime, Alan Hutton in this team would be fantastic. I think it would be a great thing.
The player that's made all 3 of our teams is Sean Maloney. So what is it that made Sean Maloney make your teams?
He's just absolutely quality on the ball. You talked about that goal against Ireland, absolutely superb. I've seen that goal floating about Twitter quite a lot recently, just trying to get people kind of riled up for like the tournament. Also, a free kick away to
Macedonia.
Absolutely exceptional. I think in that qualifying campaign, he was really exceptional. He was a massive part of that team who, well, obviously didn't end too well, but he kept us in kind of touching distance for a while with some important goals. And yeah, I mean, it's good to now see him kind of progressing onwards now as like a coach. Obviously, he's part of like the Belgian national team, so it kind of shows you that he does have that intelligence, and I believe that did show on the park to an extent as well. But yeah, Sean Maloney definitely gets in that team for me. Yeah, brilliant me player.
He set up that McManus goal you were talking about against Lithuania from memory. It was his cross that set that. Great finish by McManus with his knee into the top corner.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, he took all the corners and free kicks, didn't he? He was always a danger when he got the ball around the 25, 20-yard mark. I used to always get off my seat. I always thought he was such a Scotland player for me, if you know what I mean. As in, he obviously had a fantastic career down south at Celtic and things like that as well. But when he was at your Aston Villas, your Wiggins and that, he was always a decent player, but I always felt he raised his game for Scotland. I think he got 7 goals and just over 40 caps or something, which is again a fantastic return. And the goal against Ireland at Celtic Park's unforgettable. I was at that game with my dad, and that was exceptional stuff. One of the most bonkers I've seen a stadium, especially obviously with what it meant at the time. But Maloney for me was a class act in a Scotland jersey, as similar to your McFadden, who again they had very good club careers, but they always just they went that maybe 10-15% more for their country.
We need to have a James McFadden loving.
Oh.
I think to be honest, out of all of us in our lifetime, in terms of certainly since we started going to games and watching Scotland a bit more, I think he's the one player I would say, as you talk about players getting you off your seat, he had that swagger, he had that arrogance about him. I think I remember he scored a goal against Lithuania where he came off the bench and he picked up the ball kind of north stand side and came inside and whipped it into the far top corner. I mind David Tanner interviewing him after. He's like, "Are you happy making an impact off the bench?" He goes, "Nah." Right. And then he started during the week against France that week and scored that goal in Paris. And as I say, he produced moments. But I think the one McFadden goal that always stuck out for me, that I think is totally underrated, was his goal against Macedonia at Hampden, where he picks up the ball in his own half. He kind of squeezes between two, nutmegs a third, and then rounds the keeper. Remember watching that goal in the stadium, and unbelievable. Just, as I say, he just had that arrogance and swagger about him. If anything, it's an absolute sin that I think he finished 3 caps short of making the Hall of Fame, because I think he's that type of player, as I say, from our era that had that magic in him and produced moments of genuine brilliance for Scotland.
Yeah, for my kind of era as well, like whenever you're a kid and you're on the playground and that, and you're pretending to be like players and that, McFadden was that for us. And I think that's probably one of the best compliments you could probably give a player. He was, our version of, Dalglish would have been, like Archie Gemmill would have been, Jimmy Johnson going way back as well. Like McFadden was the icon. He was the player for us who was, the flair kind of player, the one who you wanted to be. When I was obviously talking about David Marshall's moment there, McFadden's goal against France is the only one that I was really thinking there about my lifetime that kind of rivaled it, because that was just the most euphoric moment. Obviously being overtaken now, but yeah, McFadden, unbelievable. And yeah, it's a shame that he never got to go to a tournament, because he's maybe out of probably like everybody from like my lifetime the one who maybe deserved it most, just because of his service. Maybe Darren Fletcher as well, to be fair, but James McFadden, what a guy.
Speak for yourself, Angus. I was Chris Martin in the playground. What a footballer he was. But nah, just you mentioned that he had that bit of magic. McFadden was a magician for Scotland, and not too much to add on that. The goals speak for themselves. I remember I was in this room here that I'm sitting in now, my living room, and watching that game in Paris, still in disbelief at that goal. You know, folk go, oh, it's a goalkeeping mistake, blah blah blah. Don't geese it, man. Unbelievable. Just
Aye.
that the sheer emotion of that game, and the fact we went on to win it as well was just incredible. What a player he was for Scotland, and you know, just again, as you say, Angus, it was him and your Fletchers, your even Kenny Miller to an extent. You know, a lot of players that I've put in my team, you're sort of gutted for them that they never got this opportunity that the players now are going to get. Because McFadden played with some utter pish, by the way. So you feel a bit for him. He was one of the ones that deserved it.
I also want to have a love-in with Christian Daly. Right. I think Christian Daly, not one, he went to the World Cup in '98. Two, I think he was one of these players for Scotland that he might have not been the most gifted, but I think he got 67 caps and was an absolute stalwart for a number of years. But Christian Daly deserves a mention for the fucking cheats run against Germany alone. When we lost to Germany 2-1 in a qualifier away in Germany, Bertie Vogts is doing his post-match stuff, and all you hear in the background is Christian Daly shouting, "Cheats, fucking cheats." But it could have all been covered up. But Bertie Vogts decided to start shouting, "Christian, Christian," down the mic. And I think the fact that the fans still sing about Christian Daly, I think says everything about him.
Yeah, I think I've always been a wee bit unfair on Christian Daly. I think because you'd have got I don't know what you call it, the prime Christian Daly, if there was a prime version of him. But I got the tail end of the slow, curly-headed, hopeless Christian Daly. So
Aye, that's the Christian Daly I had too. I still love him.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can't really comment too much. You know, as I was mentioning, you know, my first game was that was the opener of the Euro 2008 qualifying, and it's my most favourite campaign ever. Is obviously apart from the playoffs and things this year. But the Euro 2008 qualifying campaign, the fact we were finished 2 points behind France, Italy and France in the group, obviously 2 qualified, and we took it to the last game.
Might we add, they were the World Cup finalists in 2006 as well.
Right.
In that group, and we also had Ukraine, who were quarter-finalists in that World Cup as well.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They beat France home and away, and it's bloody Georgia that have done us. So with a 17-year-old in goals, making his debut. So that was obviously me being chucked in the deep end as a young Scotland fan. But that was some first real campaign for me of that I remember. But on Christian Daly, I've not got a clue.
Yeah. See, that's the problem with my living, right? We've sat and talked about all these players, but I've got legends of the Scottish game and like Sir John Collins, Gary McAllister, and you guys have probably never seen them kick a ball. Unbelievable footballers. John Collins was different level, and I mean his penalty. I mean, I was only 6 when it happened, but you still hear folk talk about his penalty. I know it's only a penalty, but a penalty against the world champions, opening game of the World Cup in a packed stadium in Paris. Like, nerves of steel from the guy. And then Gary McAllister as well, unbelievable player during his career. The longevity he showed to play at the highest level as well. Incredible player.
I don't know if you watched that Mr. Brown's Boys that was on the other night. That was a great watch on the iPlayer if anybody's not seen it. Obviously detailing the 1998 World Cup team, which was, obviously you mentioned John Collins in that, and it talks that he speaks about his penalty in detail and things. The moment he knew it was going in, the moment he's sort of bricking it because the goalie's gone the right way and things. So that was, obviously it's before I was born, but I watched it last night. It was about an hour long. It's a great watch. It's certainly got me up for Monday. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, so we've basically just went through our 11s there. Obviously, if anybody's listening and you want to compile your own 11, we'd love to hear it. Send us in. It'll be good to see, a whole variation of different kind of ages as well coming through. You might have players who will come, who will have seen like Kirin and that playing, even like Ali McCoist and that. So yeah, send us your teams and yeah, join into the discussion.
Ewan chatted with Ex Livi and Scotland striker Lee Miller about his experiences playing for Scotland, winning the Kirin Cup and coming up against teams managed by football greats like Zico and Maradona. Lee also chats about his first taste of football management since leaving the Lions, taking over Falkirk. Here's what Lee had to say.
This week we're delighted to welcome on to the podcast former Livi and Scotland striker Lee Miller. Lee, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm not bad, mate. All the better for seeing you back on the podcast as well. So, Lee, as I mentioned to you just before we started recording, you were the first player that we had on the podcast. So we'll pick up from kind of where we left off. You managed to end yourself a new one-year deal. You'd been kind of struggling a bit with injury that season. How good was it to get back out in the park at the tail end of that season and contribute to the team playing in the Premiership?
Yeah, it was. It was obviously still a bit injury struck that season as well. Just old age doesn't come easily. But no, it was great to just be involved and having the team doing so well round about us. And I felt I had a part to play in that, whether it was geeing the boys up for a game or just bits of advice here and there to the kind of younger players. It was a great dressing room we were involved in. Some great characters in there, and the boys done tremendously well.
And it was a delight for Livi fans to see you rekindle the partnership one last time with Ryan Hardy before he left as well. That partnership was just incredible, that championship winning season. I see you two have a back and forth on Twitter all the time. You obviously got on very well.
Yeah, Ryan's an incredible talent. And he won't mind me saying this, in terms of training and stuff like that, you looked at him and thought, he's not a football player at times. Honestly, no jokes. But see, when he goes out in that pitch, you know you're getting goals. He would sniff out danger. You can't teach that to some players. You can't teach that to players. That comes naturally. He's a natural born goal scorer and can sniff out a goal, out a ball over the top, knowing two players are going to collide into each other. He'll be at the other end waiting to tap it in. That's just the type of striker he is. And we struck it off on and off the pitch. He's a great character, and I think we had a really good connection and a partnership together. I would take the hits for him and he would score the goals.
You do all the graft and he takes the glory, doesn't he?
But I don't mind that. As long as the team's doing well and you're doing your bit for the team, that's the main thing.
And in that summer, there was quite a few key players moved on, like Liam Kelly, Declan Gallagher, Craig Halkett, Ryan himself, Sean Byrne, all moving on. What was the mood like going into the new campaign? Obviously, for a lot of clubs, you can have that second season syndrome in the top flight as well, but a lot of key players had left the dressing room. What was the mood like?
Do you know what? We just got on with it. We recruited really well, brought some other players in. That's going to happen at clubs like Livingston. That's ultimately going to happen. If the team does really well, then there'll be other teams sniffing about the better players, and they'll go on to bigger and better things. Hopefully, that's the whole aim of it. But the recruitment's a massive thing. And I think Davey and his backroom staff have done tremendously well over the years, getting the right fit form, not only on the pitch, in the changing room. The changing room is probably the most important thing about Livingston. And I think it's always been really good, and that's what's brought the success.
And it was a decent start to the season, which included that famous win over Celtic as well. You managed to grab what would prove to be your final goal for the club away at Killie. Now, let's be honest, Lee, was it an OG?
It was my power. I think it was Nicky Devlin that set it up as well. So no, he gave it to me, so I'll take his word for it. No, it was great to obviously get on the score sheet after a long time on the kind of sidelines and not featuring as much. And it was a difficult time for myself. But no, I think Mikey Stewart tried to give it as an own goal, but no, any striker in their right mind would have claimed that. And I think my movement was second to none to get on the end of
it. But obviously that would prove to be kind of almost your final involvement in the club. Overall, how do you look back at your time at Livingston?
Amazing. And my family's the same, my wife's the same. She loved it. The whole playoffs and the whole togetherness of the squad and the kind of families round about it. It was great. It was really, really good. It was just frustrating for myself getting into the Premier League and been injured for so long, for such a majority of the seasons that I was there. It was disappointing, and all I done was in the gym and trying to get myself back. And albeit I did enjoy in the gym with Cheb, and Rafa was in for a large spell of that as well. But you want to be out in the training pitch, you want to be helping the team on the pitch, on the training field. And I was unfortunate not to play a bigger part in that. But no, I look back in my time at Livingston with fond memories. The playoffs were just an incredible experience. And every time I see the playoffs over the years, it just reminds me of that, because I'd been involved in it before with Falkirk and failed a good few times, and it was just so disappointing. And everything about our run in the playoffs was positive, and we had a great togetherness about us. And I hear everybody talking about like cup runs and playoff runs, and you can't take that away from us, from any of us. And everybody that was in that together will speak about it to this day, and we'll remind each other, and we've got that bond, if anything, and it's great to look back on.
Yeah, you mentioned that bond. You see it, all you guys are obviously tweeting each other quite often and stuff like that. You mentioned Cheb there. Cheb could pick up anyone's spirits, couldn't he?
Oh, incredible character. He brightens up a dark day. And there was a lot of dark days in terms of being injured. But no, a smile on his face, just go on with it, knuckle down. And that rubs off on the players and the staff. It really does. And you can see that, and you can see that's been the driving force behind Livingston. That and Davy's work rate and everything about it. It's been really refreshing. And
the next chapter in your footballing career came as you made your first steps into management at, safe to say, your beloved Falkirk. How did that all come about, Lee?
It was kind of a whirlwind few weeks, to be honest. It kind of came out of the blue a little bit. I knew from speaking to people I knew around about the club that it was kind of bubbling over, and that was maybe going to happen in the near future. So I kind of thought about, do you know what? Would I throw my name in the ring? Yeah, I would, and that's what I kind of done. And fortunate enough for me, it came off. But if it was any other club at all, I wouldn't have done it. But because my affiliation with Falkirk, everybody knows how I feel about the club. I started my career there, did another spell there, and to go and manage that club that I actually started my career with was an opportunity I couldn't refuse, and jumped into it with both feet, basically.
And you made your debut in the dugout. I think it was a Scottish Cup tie with Linlithgow Rose. How big a moment was that for you in your career, getting to manage, as I say, a club that you obviously have such a big affiliation with?
Yeah, do you know, see the longer we went on and being managers, looking back at that was like, it's a total blur. We weren't probably prepared as well as we should have been, albeit we thought we were. But we just went into it, changed the shape, tweaked a few things, and it worked for us. And it was tremendous, and it was a great occasion for us, obviously myself and David, going into it and getting the result at the end of the day and getting through. And we were comfortable then, but it was just the introduction to management for myself. It was such a nerve-wracking, exciting roller coaster ride of a game, and that's what management is. If you can control your emotions, it helps you in the long run.
And you're seeing it a wee bit more often these days, the co-manager type role. How did you find that with David McCracken? Was there a good cop, bad cop situation with the two of you, with the players, or
no?
You just kind of both.
No, we get asked that quite often, and it wasn't the case, because there's times where I would go off my head, he would be calm. There was times where he would go off his head, I'd be calm, or the both of us would go off our head, or the both of us would No, it wasn't that. It just worked. It just worked. And we kind of had all the kind of same ideas, and the players respected us. And no, we had good togetherness about our squad that time of the year. It was good.
And there were coming incredibly frustrating end to the season. I think every football fan would feel the same, which saw the leagues decided on a points per game basis, and Falkirk narrowly missing out on promotion. I mean, it's an unprecedented situation. I think that's the word that's been used most in the last 18 months. But what were your thoughts on how the season finished up?
Oh, we were gutted, absolutely gutted, because we were playing really well, grinding out results, missed out on a point. We felt, I think there was possibly 6 or 7 games to go, and we still had Raith Rovers to play. So it was all to play for. You know how things can change in league run-ins. So we were fully confident we would go on and win the championship, if anything. But no, there's no point in looking back on it. It was disappointing. It was gutting at the time, but there was times over the lockdown where we thought we wouldn't have a league to play in the following season. So it was one of those ones. It's happened. We just want a league to play in and try and win at the end of the day. But no, we were definitely confident that we were kind of doing things properly, and we had the momentum to get into the tail end of the season, and we would have won the league. But it wasn't to be. There was no point in kind of looking back on it that way.
And no coaching badges or courses could prepare you for what was in store with the pandemic. Did you lean on any other managers that you've had in your career for a bit of guidance and advice during that lockdown spell?
I'm trying to think. It was just a case of keeping in contact with the players and keeping their heads right, because it was a horrible experience. But you just try and kind of focus on something, and a lot of people had their families round about them. And I spoke quite a lot to Davy Martindale over it, and I keep in contact with him. I respect him highly, and we bounce ideas off each other, and it's good from that point of view. But no, I think it's just a case of having family round about you and speaking as much as you can, and trying to focus on different things to kind of keep your mind off it. And the whole fitness thing, and you have your 5Ks and different things. There was challenges we set for players, and all these kind of things kind of add into the kind of competitive side of things, plus keep your fitness up, because that was the longest period of time a footballer had ever had off for an off season. And it was for going from that to coming back, it was very, very difficult. And you've seen the amount of injuries, even the Premiership down south. And
it's almost like the recovery of a long-term injury, isn't it? You know, when you're laid off for that long.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to get niggles elsewhere and different things. So no, it was a very, very difficult time, but it was for everybody. It was the same for everybody.
And the season did eventually start again. I think it was October time that you guys got back up and running, and you had Falkirk sitting in a good position at the top of the table. But once again, the pandemic wreaked havoc, and it was drawn to a halt. Was it almost a wee bit easier second time around to deal with it because you'd had that little bit of experience just a matter of months before, or was it still just incredibly frustrating?
I don't know if it was easier. The fact that we're right in the middle of a season and it's happened, and you're thinking this is going to happen again, or because we haven't fulfilled more than half the fixtures, it was just going to be kibosh and completely off the table. So, it was difficult, and it was trying to keep the players engaged, keep them fit. We've done quizzes, we've done different Zoom calls and stuff, just to keep them focused on things and away from football in terms of keeping them socialising and interacting, if anything. So no, it was really tough. It was really tough, and then coming back after that, not having a pre-season, you basically get a week to get fit, was hard. It was really hard, but it's the same for everybody. It's same for all the teams. So we just had to and we did prepare really well for it. We came back and hit the ground running.
And once the season did start back up again, unfortunately for yourself, it came a time that your time ended at Falkirk. There was a bit of a dip in form. Overall, how do you look back at your first taste in management? It's certainly a unique situation you've had in your first taste in management, but how do you look back at it overall?
Yeah, I look at it and I love my time. Absolutely love my time at Falkirk. Everything about it, we had a real togetherness, a real good team spirit, both seasons, and it wasn't to be. It wasn't to be. These things happen in football. I understand that. I appreciate that. But no, I'm just delighted that I actually had the opportunity to manage the club that I started at. And relatively speaking, for the majority of it, we done really well. We kind of played some good football, scored some good goals. We created a good squad there, but it just wasn't to be. Everything stacked against us in terms of injuries, bad results, dip in form, like you say. It's just, that's what it is. It's football. It can spin, it can turn just in a blink of an eye, basically. You're 1 minute you're top of the league, and then you come off the top of the league for a game, and that's you're done. So I look back at it, and I think it could have been so different, but we tried everything. We tried our best, poured my absolute heart and soul into it, and my wife and kids will tell you that. So that's me just starting to get to know them again, basically. So no, I wouldn't change anything. It's one of those experiences I'll look back at, and I'll look back at with fond memories mostly. But obviously we didn't achieve the target we set out to achieve, which was win the league, and we thought we would have done that the season before, but it wasn't to be.
I've got a few pals that are Falkirk fans, and they only have positive things to say about you, Lee, over your spells at the football club, so I'm sure any Falkirk fan would wish you well as well. But with the Euros coming up, it would be rude not to talk about Scotland, and obviously yourself, you've had experiences with the national team as well. Your first taste of international football came with the Scotland B side. You managed to grab a goal in your debut as well, in a win over Poland at Rugby Park, I believe. How proud a moment was that, getting to pull on the Scotland jersey and as well scoring your first time wearing it as well?
Amazing. I loved it. There was a lot of players at the time weren't too keen on the B squads and different for so many different reasons, but I just loved being away with the national team. It doesn't matter if it's B, C or whatever it was. To pull on that jersey and going on about and kick a ball for your country is an incredible feeling. And obviously scoring that game, I think down at Rugby Park, and I'm trying to think who else. I think it was maybe Craig Bryson scored the other goal, and it was it was a great day. I remember it pretty well. But no, I just, whenever I was called upon, I would never ever pull out of a squad or anything like that. I was keen to get involved, and even just because most of the time I could say I was probably a hamper boy. I would carry all the bags and do all the different things, but it really didn't bother me at all. I would go and enjoy training with the likes of Barry Ferguson and Dan Fletcher and all these top quality players, and I was learning so much from them, being young at the time as well. So no, I loved going away with the national side.
And there was another couple of appearances for the B side. You managed to grab another goal as well. You kind of touched on it a little bit there, but what were your thoughts on the B side setup? And do you think it's something we maybe miss now at international level, with that kind of bridging the gap between the age groups and then the full side?
Yeah, possibly. Possibly. I don't know how many years it's been out of the game. Just when you bring it up there, I totally forgot about it, to be honest. No, I think probably, there's probably players who deserve a wee sniff at it. Albeit if there was a B squad, I think there's a crop of players that would fit into that no problem. And then it would give the manager something else to think about and seeing if they're capable of stepping up into the full squad. But I don't know. It'd be a whole restructure and whole kind of, I suppose, if you're a manager of a club and you're allowing your player to go to a B squad and potentially risking them with the number of games they've had, and obviously with the COVID restrictions and stuff, it'd be very, very difficult to get that in place. But no, I enjoyed it. I don't know about any other player. I've not really spoke about it with any other players, but the likes of, I can remember B squads, myself, Chris Buck, players like that being involved in those kind of things. And it got you rubbing shoulders with the best players in the country, albeit it's a kind of second string team, but it meant when I was playing the second string team, I was eventually get called up to the full team, albeit I was just training, and I was in squads. I was on the bench, never quite got on. Yeah, I had 3 caps, but would I love to have actually made an appearance in a kind of qualifier or something like that. But no, I was just happy to be there and rub shoulders with these and ask for advice, like Sir David Weir and players like that I wasn't. I knew of, and he knew of me, but we'll never get into a conversation. So I could sit down and have a full-on conversation with players like this and just grab wee nuggets of knowledge that they were giving out, which was great for me.
You kind of touched on it there as well. It wasn't much longer before you did make your full international debut. It was a 0-0 draw away in Japan, who were managed by Zico, the Brazilian legend. But it would also see you manage to grab a winner's medal in your first ever cap with the Kirin Cup. That's no bad going.
100% record. Again, it was like I probably get thrown on for the last 10 minutes of that, which for me, it didn't matter how long I would play. I was happy being there and being involved in the environment and being part of it. But no, those trips to Japan were incredible. Everything about it, just the fact that it's such an amazing country as well. It was an incredible experience, and training every day with great players. It was great. I loved it.
I believe that, as you say, the whole experience in Japan was quite surreal. What were your kind of overall memories of the trip? I believe there was quite a mad night out that Walter Smith set a curfew for, of getting back on the team bus for 8 o'clock. I think a few boys struggled with that, didn't they?
Do you know what? I can remember going out, but I can't actually remember anything about it. To be honest, there was a few drinks involved. I can safely say about that. I think I was rooming with Gavin Ray, I think.
Right.
So no, it was good, and I can't remember anything about that, to be honest. I'll take your word for it.
I was reading an article about it, and there was one bit that they were saying someone had drawn a cock on James McFadden's head, and he was signing autographs in the morning for folk outside the hotel. I was reading a story about that, but I mean, when you made your debut for Scotland, it was Walter Smith that was manager of the national side at the time. Obviously, he's a legend of the game in Scotland. What was it like to kind of have that brief encounter with someone, as I say, is so iconic in the Scottish game?
Incredible, because he would just speak to you like a normal player, like one of his players, and the amount of advice and say, he would just ask me how to go. And I think I was at Dundee United at the time. How's things going? I seen your game there and there. Just speak normal, which was great. And it's like obviously a massive character within the game, a legend within the game. And for him to give me my debut I'm truly grateful to him for that. And no, it was great, because like you had the likes of Ali McCoy, Tommy Burns, and it was an incredible lineup. And the players were great as well. And these are experiences that I'm very fond of.
And your next cap would come against Argentina. Now, Japan were managed by Zico, but Argentina were managed by the god, the Tartan Army icon that is Diego Maradona. What were your memories of that? Would be your first cap at Hampden as well. What were your memories of the welcome that Maradona got from the Tartan Army that evening?
Yeah, it's a kind of blur every time I think about it. I've got a few pictures now, obviously my strip and stuff like that. And it was his first game in charge of Argentina. I remember I was a late call up. There was, I think, somebody pulled out and I was next in line basically, which was great for me. But no, to actually play the full second half was incredible at Hampden as well. I probably should have scored a header, which I was gutted about. But no, I can remember a few touches that I had in the game, and they were good touches, and I felt good about myself about them after it. But no, it was a great occasion. The fact that it was his first game in charge for the national team, and it was at Hampden, and I was part of that, was a great feeling.
I remember being at that game, and it was just the whole night, the Tartan Army just singing about Maradona. And I think he knew fine well why he was a legend in Scotland as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, your third and final cap would come quite bizarrely in Japan as well. Now, did you still have that sort of fan club from the first spell over there? I believe it was absolutely mad first time.
Yeah, do you know, that was one of the things. I can't remember if it was first time or second time that Craig Conway, I think it was the second one actually. And myself and Conway, like, there was maybe 4 or 5 per kind of player. So they were Mr. Lee, and it was like, how do you know me? Kind of thing. I was only, I think, was at Aberdeen at the time, possibly. But I'm thinking all the way over in Japan, I'm not a big player with Old Firm or anything like that. I'm not well known. And these people had pictures upon pictures of me and Conway. And it was like, we were looking at each other thinking, you've got the wrong guy, you've got the wrong guys here. But they would follow us everywhere. They would follow us every time we got off the bus. There was these specific certain people wanting our autographs. And it was like, we were signing the same things over and over again. But they must have had multiple pictures, programs, whatever it was. It was an incredible. It was a strange, surreal experience for like myself, because I was only obviously, I wasn't at any of the Old Firm or the big clubs or anything like that. Yeah, we had fans and stuff, but it wasn't as intense as it was over there. But they couldn't have been any nicer. The Japanese fans were incredibly nice, and just they would do anything for you, anything. So they would.
And whilst on international duty, you've mentioned a few players, but which players would you say really stood out that when you were in training or during the games themselves?
The best one for me was Sean Maloney. In training and games, he was doing things that you couldn't get near him. When he was on his game, it was just gliding past players in his close control and constantly practicing free kicks and deliveries. And he was first class. But Barry Ferguson, I think everybody says it needs to speak about the national team. The demands he puts on himself and the players. See, if you're on his team, you had to be on it constantly, because if you weren't, you were getting that. But I enjoyed that. And it made you concentrate more on your game and be the best player you could be, because you didn't want likes of Barry Ferguson shouting at you or moaning at you. So the bar was set. When you trained in Barry's team, it was incredibly intense.
And overall, how do you look back at your experiences getting to play for Scotland? Not everyone gets the opportunity to do it, but how would you put it into words?
Yeah, obviously, I would have loved to have played featured in more games than I did, but every squad that I was involved in, I loved it. I loved going away with the national side, going to different places and just meeting up, having that buzz, speaking to players for Old Firm, speaking to all sorts of different players that you played against weeks before and had that argy-bargy and tackles flying in, but you'd actually meet them. Everybody was brand new, and it was great to be involved in that, and I just enjoyed every minute of it.
And we all know it's a massive summer ahead. Where were you when David Marshall saved that penalty in Serbia? And what plans have you got for watching the games this summer?
Oh, I was in my house watching it with my family, and it was incredible, because it's the same throughout the whole country. We just leapt off the sofa and just jumped about, and it's just an incredible achievement for Scotland. It's been so long in coming. We've missed out on so many opportunities, and now it's time for them to go and enjoy the occasion and go and see what we can do. I'll just be watching the game with my family again and just soaking in the kind of atmosphere, and hopefully we do ourselves proud.
And there's a couple of obvious Livi connections within the current Scotland squad. Two ex-teammates of yourself, Lyndon Dykes and Declan Gallagher. Did you see them potentially progressing towards the national side when you were playing with them and training with them day in, day out?
Two of them are great. Declan, obviously, a huge character, and you can see, obviously, when he goes to Mother, it doesn't change. Declan, what you see is what you get. It doesn't change for anybody, and I can imagine him being exactly the same going into that Scotland squad. It doesn't matter the big characters, how much money they're on, what club they're at. He just stays the same throughout, and that I'm so chuffed for him getting in the squad, and not only getting in the squad, the times that he's played, he's been absolutely phenomenal for Scotland.
He has been excellent.
And he deserves all the success he gets. He's got a lovely family, and he's worked really hard at it, and he deserves it. As for Lyndon's an incredible talent. Having seen him at, obviously, when he was at Queen of the South and coming to Livingston, growing from strength to strength, he's got so much in his locker. I'm delighted to see him doing so well, because he's, again, lovely family, keeps himself to himself, and he deserves all the success that's coming his way, and he's doing great down south.
I remember when we had Lyndon on the podcast, and there was a line that made me think he'll do well at international level, which was, "I like to piss people off," and and I just thought he has the attitude where he just doesn't care about anyone's reputation.
The biggest strength Lyndon has is it hasn't been brought up like in football as such. He's not supported a Rangers or Celtic and doesn't know. I don't mean doesn't know, but he didn't follow a club and isn't in awe of any players. He treats everybody as a centre half I'm playing against. I'll just bosh him. I'll just do what I do. That's how he sets out, and that's went for him so much, because a lot of players, when they get to a certain level, they think, "Oh God, I'm playing against X, Y, or Z," and think, "Oh, he's done this, he's done that," and they panic a wee bit. He's not got that in him. He's not got that in him, and that's maybe the chilled out of the Australian in him. You know, it's just kind of chilled out guy, and doesn't get overawed with anything. That's kind of went for him, and it's good to see him doing so well.
Lee, it's been an absolute pleasure having you back on the podcast. You're obviously you're a legend at Livi for what you helped the club achieve in the playoffs and everything like that. So thank you so much for taking the time to chat to me about your Scotland career as well. From all the boys on the podcast, we hope to see you back down at the Spaghetti Head sometime soon.
Thanks very much. Thank you for having me as well.
It's time for predictions, gentlemen. How do we see Scotland getting on at the Euros?
Yeah, I don't want to fall into the typical Tartan Army trap of getting above my station and thinking we're going to go on and win the tournament, like I think some folk are already. An example of that, Angus, we were just chatting about the Slovakia game where we scored late on and you set up the goal under Gordon Strachan. After we won that game, I went and booked 2 weeks off work for the first 2 weeks of the World Cup, thinking I was going to Russia. So, I don't want to fall into those traps again with the Euros. And look, I think the Czech Republic game is the biggie. I think from the outset, it's the opening game, it's at Hampden, and we beat them recently. I'm sure they'll be looking at us as their best opportunity of getting out the group as well, be it third place or second or whatever. But at the end of the day, we need to respect the fact that we're coming up against a team that were World Cup finalists, and Croatia and England were World Cup semi-finalists as well in the last World Cup. And
didn't England win it?
Nah, mate, they didn't bring it home. They didn't bring it home in the end.
I'm pretty sure they did. Like, they keep on going on about it, right?
They've made about 94
They fail miserably.
documentaries on it.
And what was it the final against Panama they won? It was they played Panama in the final, didn't they? Aye.
Gave the manager an OBE.
Fucking embarrassment. But anyway, this is the other thing. I don't want to become an England fan and start thinking we're going to go on and win the tournament. But look, I think we've got a chance. I think if you look at the last Euros, when they introduced kind of the four best placed third place teams, Northern Ireland got through with 1 win and finishing with a 0 goal difference when they beat Ukraine. Portugal got through with 3 draws and ended up going on to win the tournament. So 1 win gives you a chance, as long as you don't take a scudding elsewhere of England or Croatia. But I think we've got the ability to go and cause an upset. For example, Croatia have never beaten us in a game. So, and with the game being at Hampden as well. So I think we've got a chance. I think we've got a good team. I think we're well organised. As I said before, I've said it numerous times since even Clark's first couple of games, we look like a well-coached team, a well-drilled team, and I'm sure they would have done all the prep possible for these 3 games. But to be honest, the last 2 weeks in particular, since I managed to get tickets and all the travelling stuff booked, it's been the slowest 2 weeks ever.
Are you going to the Euro?
I'm going to the Euros, mate. I'm going, aye. Mate, I'm not going to get tired of mentioning it. I don't care if folk hate me for it. I don't care. I'm going, right?
Well, I just had the pub phone me confirm my booking, so how about that?
Congratulations. Congratulations, mate. But nah, like the anticipation, the excitement is proper building, obviously chatting about it all, and some of the social media stuff the SFA put up. I think it was the combination one they done with Albert Matters. It just got me absolutely pumped for the tournament as well. So to be honest, I'm not even that. This sounds bad. I'm not even that fussed if we do go out. It's just the fact that we're there and we're getting to mix it with Europe's best. It's been 23 years since we have been to a major tournament. Folk need to just try and enjoy it as much as possible. Enjoy the atmosphere wherever you're watching it, be it in a pub, be it in the fan zones, be it at home. Enjoy the next couple of weeks as much as you can, because it's been 23 years in the making, and folk, as I say, don't want to put too much pressure on the players. Go out and enjoy it and do what they can.
I think you're absolutely spot on there, Ewan. 23 years ago since we've been in it. I'm 24, birthday's in October, so I was maybe one in a third-year-old when this last tournament. Somebody from my work, we found this out, they were 1 day old the last time Scotland played a game at a tournament, which is absolutely mental to think about, this kind of person.
That was a 3-0 scudding against Morocco as well. It's not even a happy memory.
But yeah, it's gonna be class. Regardless of what happens, it's just great, to have that kind of sense of pride, and hopefully the boys can go and make us proud. And yeah, looking at the group, we could have had a much worse draw, in all honesty. There's a lot more teams in there that's, we could have been in Hungary's position at this moment. We have, France, Portugal and Germany, where you're looking at that, you're yeah, no thanks, let's just stay at home. But yeah, Czech Republic, team who we can beat, team who we've beat recently. Croatia as well, they're kind of an aging squad. I don't think we should be massively fearful of them. They've got undoubtedly some very, very good players, but we've got some good players as well who can cause teams issues. And then with England as well, this is probably one of their best chances of winning the tournament. Anything can happen in a derby kind of rivalry match like this. I mean, how many other times have we taken England quite close? I know they've got a whole host of great attacking talent and all of that, but at the same time, you feel like you can get at them, and with that extra kind of intensity, with that extra kind of pride on the line, anything can happen. And yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. And yeah, let's go and do it. Let's go and smash it and make the country proud.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic, I have to say.
He's fallen into the trap. He's fallen
not delusionally optimistic, but I think we'll get the group. I think we'll beat Czech Republic, and we'll do enough to get through. All the pressure on England for that game against them, which will be the second game after we've beat the Czechs 5-0. No, I'm joking. But I do think we can beat Czech Republic. Obviously we played them in that Nations League group, didn't we? And one of the games, yeah, they had a few out with COVID. I'm not considering that game, but it was the 1-0 game at home. We rode our luck a wee bit, certainly, but I think we've come on even since then as a squad. So especially with the game at Hampden, I don't see any reason why we can't beat Czech Republic on the first day. I do agree with you in the sense that is maybe make or break, because I could see us taking something from England or Croatia, but not a win. I could see us maybe getting a point against one of them or both of them, but not a victory, unfortunately. But no, in all seriousness, the pressure is on England for that game. That on the 18th, absolutely buzzing for it. But they always hype themselves up, and we'll be the underdogs, and that's the way we like it. That's the way we like it at Livingston. That's the way we like it at Scotland. So bring it on. I think we'll get to the last 16. The way I've done my tournament, the tournament tree type thing. The official predictor in the app. I've got us coming in third, and the last 16 would then see us meet Belgium if they win their group. So that would be a laugh. I think we'd go out there, but You know, if we get out of the group,
Nah, we can take Belgium. We've
Belgium.
improved. We've improved since the 3 and 4-0 scuddings we took in Clark's first few games.
well, we have. We certainly have. But I think it'll be too much for that. I've got Belgium as our winners. I don't know if we're gonna speak about that, but I just they've all, as you say, you know, they've all done us proud, and it's just great being there. But I'm not saying it'll be a failure if we go out in the group. Certainly not, because it's never been done. Getting out the groups for a Scotland squad, but it's tough to kind of to say that it will be the best ever chance, but you know, it's definitely one of them. You look at us this season. You know, when's the next time we'll get to a cup final, for example? You know, we need to go out and do ourselves justice. You know, when's the next time we'll be in a group as, again, it's a difficult group, but you've avoided your giants, you've avoided a France, a Germany, you know, teams like this. When's the next time that, you know, we'll be able to qualify ahead of in third place? I think it's the best chance we'll ever get, personally, and I think we can do it. I really do.
Bruni, what I would say is, I wouldn't say this is the best chance we've ever had. I think you could look back at the 1978 World Cup when we played Peru and done no research on a boy that could ping in free kicks from 40 yards and then drew with Iran, and then had to beat Holland by 2 clear goals to go through. And then I think 82, because we didn't score enough goals against Zaire, we ended up missing out on going through to the knockout stages in the 82 World Cup. So, but the difference being that you've got that opportunity with third place, don't you? Which opens it up for ourselves in particular. But look, it's a massive occasion for the country. You can see the hype's been going for weeks already, and I'm genuinely just incredibly excited for the games to get going. So final prediction. How far? So Bruno, you said last 16. Angus, what are you going with?
I'll back that. I'll go with us to go through in third place as well. Yeah, I think that will be where our journey ends if we face somebody like a Belgium or that. But I would be more than happy with, you know, just progressing from the groups at least.
Ewan, don't let the side down, please.
I don't want to fall into the trap, man.
Don't be Andy Semple.
I don't want. You know me. I'm one of the most positive when it comes to the teams I support, right? But I just don't want. I don't want to bring this disappointment on me when it comes to the Croatia game. I don't want. Fuck it. Last 16. Last 16. I have a sneaky feeling there's something about this team.
Not
that will get us through the group. But you were talking about the England game, for example. That's the game that worries me the least, to be honest. I think it takes care of itself, and I think a load of pundits and ex-players have said that you don't need to hype the players up for that game. It will be exceptional. I'm sure there'll be, despite government guidance, be thousands of Scotland supporters down in London for the game as well. Just talking about the tournament as a whole. So you mentioned Belgium, Bruni. Angus, who are you thinking for the tournament?
I've got a good feeling about Portugal. Obviously, the reigning champions. I feel like their team this time round is much better and much more balanced. Obviously, they've got Ronaldo up front, the likes of Jota and that playing off him. Midfield, Renato Sanchez having a great season at Lille, Bruno Fernandes as well, and then defence like Ruben Diaz and that. I feel like they're in a very healthy position, and you know, in all honesty, I think the toughest thing for them will be getting out of that group. But that could also tell you a lot you need to know about them. If they beat France and Germany in that group, then I think instantly they go through as favourites. I do feel that France are probably the second kind of team that I would probably back. But yeah, there's just something about Portugal this time that I'm feeling confident about.
The three that have been mentioned, Belgium, France, and Portugal, are the three that I'm kind of looking at. But as I say, the big one is the fact that France and Portugal are in the same group, and you've got Germany in that, who are notoriously tournament experts, aren't they? Regardless of how they've qualified or how they've been playing. But, you know, I think France look very good. Belgium, I mean, I've seen Belgium multiple times over the last few years, and let's be honest, if they don't win a major tournament with the players that they've got in this current kind of era, it would be a bit of a failure, to be honest. going by the last maybe 3-4 tournaments, the options that they've got. But I'm with you, Angus. I think there's a sneaky thing with Portugal. I think they're a much better team than they were when they were last, when they won it in 2016. You're talking about the strength and depth that they've got. Now, it's night and day with what they were. And I think they were playing like a 74-year-old Ricardo Quaresma and Nani and stuff like that at the last Euros. So I think they've came on leaps and bounds in terms of the options that they've got. And there's something about them. And obviously, you've got Ronaldo, don't you? Don't need to go into too much detail with him. But they're the ones. I've got a sneaky suspicion with Portugal as well. I'm with you on that.
Just on that group of death, you've got Germany, France, Portugal.
Right. What group of death? Is ours not the group of death? No.
Well, nah. And then, well, other than the fact I've got Hungary in the sweepstake, which we'll not mention. But so if England win our group, unless we do it, obviously, they get third place in that group. So thanks for coming. You're out in the last 16. Down the road. Goodbye. So
I think
if they win our group,
actually, I think they might get the second place team.
I think no. You could be right. It's definitely.
Which would be even worse for them, thankfully.
It would be one of France. I mean, Hungary aren't getting a point in that group, if we're being honest. So
I can't wait for Hungary to win the tournament.
I'll take it.
We've written them off. We've written them off at their peril.
But so England get one of France, Germany, or Portugal if they win the group. So and they did it at the last World Cup, didn't they, to get an easier thing? They sort of played a weaker team against Belgium, so Belgium won the group, and then they came second, got an easier run. So I hope they don't have the chance to do that. I hope they come fourth, if I'm being honest. But if I'd rather they won the group than got second, because I think they're out in the last 16 if they win the group. There we go.
I'd personally like to just send England home as early as possible and enjoy the tournament. And if we can be part of that process, that would be utterly iconic. Who are you going for? Golden Boot. That's always a biggie at the major tournaments, isn't it? Golden Boot. Who are we going for?
Somebody I felt who I don't think he was incredible at the last World Cup, but he's got a lot of goals, and it was mainly due to penalties. And I think this team will go far. So I'm going to go with Griezmann, with France, penalty taker. Obviously, he's spent a lot of time in the box. And I think Benzema just kind of got injured in the last game there, so he may play a wee bit further forward as well. I think that's not a bad shout. Obviously, I don't think he's been exceptional for Barcelona, but he does pop up with a fair amount of goals at the national level, and I think that's not a bad shout to pick for.
Yeah, so I've got Belgium as my winners. The obvious choice would be Lukaku from that. But I've been swithering between him and Ciro Immobile of Italy. I think Italy are very underrated. They don't concede a lot, but they're quite a defensive team. But Immobile's got a decent goal return. He's effectively carried Lazio this season by himself. So he'll pretty much play every game, I think, up front for Italy and score all their goals, unless they have a couple of centre halves up the corners and things like that. But Immobile for me, just looking at the odds and things, he was 20-1. So a wee tipple on him if people do bet. I don't know if I'm going to, but Lukaku or Immobile for me. Lukaku's probably the safe option, but if you're wanting a wee outside shot, I think Immobile for Italy.
I'm going London Dykes. I think Dykes is going to run riot, and he's going to make Phil Foden's new haircut be the least talked about thing. It'll be the Dykes haircut. It'll be talked about at the Euros.
I hope so.
If I'm being serious, so I think it's difficult to look past the likes. I think England will go relatively far in the tournament. I think Harry Kane, he is just goals, isn't he? Harry Kane, from almost anywhere on the park, he can produce moments of magic. But because I've predicted Portugal to go far, I'm going to go with the master that is Ronaldo. I think he'll produce moments of magic. I know it's the cliched ones. You guys have tried to go outside the box, but I'd go Kane or Ronaldo to be the Golden Boot winner.
Yeah, obviously going on from Golden Boot, it's kind of natural to go on to player of the tournament. Who do you think will be, the standout from the competition as a whole?
Who do I think is going to be player of the tournament? I think Stephen O'Donnell. I think Stephen O'Donnell, criminally underrated. And I think he'll.
He might get that hat trick Alan Hutton never got.
Exactly. I believe in Stephen O'Donnell. Who do I think is going to be player of the tournament? I think, again, I'm looking at Portugal. I think the likes of Fernandes, I think he's had a fantastic season with Man United, fantastic 18 months with Man United. I think he'll carry that on in the national setup. Obviously, he's playing with a lot of other players who might overshadow him. De Bruyne as well. I've seen De Bruyne a handful of times playing for Belgium, and he is simply outrageous. But he's struggling a bit with an injury, isn't he, just now? So nasty one he took in the Champions League final. So those are two that I'm looking forward to watching during the tournament. Personally,
goalies union, Courtois. I think Belgium will, as I say, win it, or if not, they'll get to a semi or a final. And I think they'll win a game or two on penalties. A couple of tight games they've got. Just with the path I've sort of done in terms of I think I'll win groups, second, third, blah blah blah. The route I've got Belgium going on would be Scotland. I think it's Italy, Germany, and France in the final. I think so. They'll all be tight games. I think just manifesting Courtois to save a few pens in a shootout. Why not? Outside the box.
I was kind of similar thought as you, and obviously picked Portugal. So if you obviously picked like Ronaldo to kind of be like top goal scorer, Portugal win this tournament, and Ronaldo has a good tournament. Don't see it going to anybody else other than him. Even if it is just basically another cap on like a great career, might not deserve it. Might be somebody more worthy. I remember Renato Sanchez the last time was probably the more deserving player from that Portugal.
What about Diaz?
Diaz would be a good option as well. Yeah.
Like shithouse at the back.
Yeah. Not as much as Pepe though, but yeah, he's still got plenty of time to learn that. But yeah, if Portugal win it, I could see him giving it to Ronaldo. Would love to see Bruno Fernandes get it. He might suffer because he'd probably have to not be able to take as many penalties as Ronaldo will be. But yeah, the good feelings about Portugal just keep on continuing here.
Well, it's been delayed a year, but it did mean that Scotland were going to be there. So let's hope it's a fantastic tournament and it involves a successful campaign for Scotland as well. That's it for this episode of Talk Livi Talk Scotland. Thanks again to every single one of you for tuning in. If you can, we'd love to hear your feedback. Either leave us a review on iTunes or simply message us on Twitter, Facebook or Instagram.
As Ewan said, we're on those social channels on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. Just search Talk Livi to find us over there. You'll find all the links to our weekly episodes over there too. You can also find all of our episodes, including this one, on all good podcast streaming sites, including iTunes and Spotify. We're also on YouTube, so don't forget to subscribe to the channel over there as well. And if none of those options suit you, all you have to do is simply head to our website, talklivipodcast.libsyn.com, where again you'll find every single episode that we've done over the last few years.
That's it for this episode. Thanks again for tuning in. As always, keep your eyes peeled for some further Scotland related content. For now though, wherever you're watching the games, let's get right behind Steve Clark and the team. Come on, Scotland!
Come on, Scotland!
Come on!